It's one of the most lucrative labor jobs I've ever seen in the world. With the drip of the machine, the lines suddenly began to be yanked. It's not a ghost that gets the crew excited. It's the underwater king of sashimi tuna. On a good day, they catch an average of 1 tuna. It could easily sell for $12,000. Do you want to do $1 million a month job? A new season of fishing for life and death. As the new year fishing season begins, the captains gather their teammates. Start a new round of tuna wars. The first captain was Otter, last year's season champion. This year, he will take his brother and father out fishing. Have a nice goodbye to your family before you sail. During tuna fishing season, they're among the highest paid workers in the world. That's an average of $10,000 a day. Today is the first day of the fishing season. Their confidence is full. The second captain was Cook. He also took 2 of his teammates out with him. He replaced it with a brand new fishing boat this year. Hopefully the boat will be paid off in full this season. After the departure, the teammates shouted excitedly. The third captain, Marcia, he took his son and nephew Jay on a fishing trip. It's kind of a family group. This year, Marcia vowed to win the season title. The fourth captain, Michelle, she's taking a girl out fishing with her, even though they're both girls. But don't underestimate them. Look at their arm muscles. Snapping a cucumber is not a problem. This year, Michelle has a brand new fishing rod, vowed to catch more tuna. She still owes $150,000 in fees on the boat. As a single mom, Michelle is under a lot of pressure. She hopes to become the first captain to catch a tuna this season. The fifth captain was Taylor. He's a 2-time champion. His teammate was his sister. Having a sister as a partner, he is very confident that he can win the title this season. Almost all captains go out fishing the first morning. And the sixth captain, Jack, they choose to go out at night. Jack invested a lot of money in this season, bought a lot of new equipment. He's hoping not to lose money this year. The seventh captain, Dave, his teammates are Sandro and Jordy. Their strategy this time is to find tuna close to home. The eighth captain was Paul. I remember the first season. He's Dave's teammate. Then he defected to Bill. Didn't expect season 13 to become the captain. He also hired a teammate. I hope I catch a fish every day. We expect the 8 captains to give us plenty of surprises this season. I get paid to catch more and bigger tuna. Dave found a lot of mackerel on the detector. These are tuna's favorite foods. Jay thinks enough bait will attract tuna. First day of fishing season. Everyone saw a lot of fish. With 12:01 a.m., all teams begin to drop their first bait of the year. It's already the next day after 12 o'clock. These captains really don't want to waste any time. Today is also the most abundant day of marine resources. The detector says there's a lot of tuna in the vicinity. Tuna was detected in almost every boat. Everybody wants to catch the first fish. The scene was exciting at root. Suddenly Tyler's fish tank was yanked. Their fishing boats began to fish. The fish is half the battle. Taylor and her sister cooperated with each other. Adjust the direction of the fishing boat at any time to make the fish more dynamic. Sister keeps tightening the line. It's so dark now. You can't see the water at all. I can only fish by feeling and experience. There are more fishing boats around. At any moment, this fish could break free and run off into someone else's boat. Fishing is not a blind tug. Let the fish consume energy properly. Soon the tuna is pulled to the surface. Tyler waits for his chance with a harpoon. When the tuna was hit, the hanging heart was finally laid down. Catch the tail with a snare. The fishing season is only 35 minutes old. They succeeded in catching a tuna. The first tuna winner of the season. Let the tuna cool down and pull it on board. This fish is 106 inches long. That's 2.6 meters long. It's the perfect start, no doubt, to be successful and fruitful in such a short time. It's definitely very good. When Dave found out about it, he thought the first fish was something to brag about. Nothing else. Cook could not be more envious. Everybody wants the first fish. After all, waiting is hard. It's worse to see other people make money than to lose it. Soon it was morning. Only one fish was served last night. OTT now wants to catch some mackerel as bait, because he thinks mackerel is the tuna's favorite bait. Morning is also a good time to go fishing. They are still full of hope. Paul also spent the night at sea. He looks a lot steadier than he did 13 years ago in the first season. Otter saw a whale nearby. Whale feeding usually attracts tuna. It's the first day of the fishing season. They're like Chinese New Year. Be confident about what's next. I hope to make a lot of money. I know this one well. The goal set on the first day of the new year is full of confidence. At the end of the year, we're poor. Paul, there's a beep from the detector. The neighborhood is already attracting tuna. Soon the rod began to be pulled. This magnificent wealth finally turned themselves. He had a very loud laugh. All the fishing boats in the vicinity heard it over the intercom. Next thing you know, a tuna is being pulled on board. The fish is only 94 inches long. It's not very big though, but enough to get them excited. Well, at least the first day's worth it. Taylor's team has returned to port. They were the first to catch tuna. This fish is very big. The tuna that comes back needs to be evaluated by the buyer. The quality of the fish ultimately determines its purchase price. The fish weighed 550 pounds. Weight and length are average. Next comes the color and fat content of the fish. The buyer thinks the fish is very beautiful. The sides of the fish are rich and fat. As the season's first tuna, The buyer offered $22 a pound. They ended up with $12,232. This fish is a real kickoff for Tyler. Taylor is confident he will catch more tuna. When Cook was looking for a catch, found OTT nearby. There are whales feeding around here. They think it's a good fishing spot. The fishing boats are not far apart. In fact, the competitiveness is still quite large. They use mackerel as bait. It didn't take long for the Cook probe to beep. Tuna have been attracted. It's a few dozen meters below the surface. Suddenly the line was yanked. The tuna is officially hooked. Teammates start first. He hoped it was a tuna. The line was pulled very hard. This is when the tuna is strong. It's easy to detach if you fold the line blindly. Wait until the fish have exhausted their energy before retracting. Cook thinks the fish should be over 80 inches. Soon the tuna is pulled to the surface. Teammate sees the right moment to drop the harpoon. They succeeded in catching a tuna. It was pretty big. It was lucky to catch a fish on the first day of the season. Tuna caught needs to be cooled in the water. They went back to Hong Kong to sell fish. Next to OTT saw after Envy died. Everyone started serving fish. When will it be my turn? After pulling the fish out, exactly 80 inches. That's a pretty good guess. Everyone was happy about it. The fish can pay for part of the cost of the boat. The new boat harvested a fish on its first day. Immediately after returning to port, fish were sold. Paul also sells fish in the harbor. Their fish are about 310 pounds. Cook's fish weighed 222 pounds. Paul's fish looks pretty good on this side, but the sides of the fish are lower in fat. So the buyer is only paying $19 a pound. That's a pretty high price. Paul was pleasantly surprised. The total revenue was $6,000. It's really easy money. The same is true for Cook. The color of the fish is good too. It's low in fat. The buyer offered only $17 a pound. On the first day, they brought in $3,770. The income is also quite good. If you could do that every day, you'd be rich. In the 8, 3 have caught tuna. Dave and the boys are desperate for something right now. The sooner you catch a fish, the sooner you go home. They are relatively close to the coast. Soon they saw a tuna not far away. Suddenly the line reacted. Dave was the first to tell someone nearby over the intercom. The fish haven't been caught yet. I told them about the fish. It's really going to make people die of envy. They were taking in the line. Fishing boats from the neighborhood came by. This has seriously affected their fishing. Just yell at them to leave. The mark in the water touched the fishing line. It has to be cleaned up as soon as possible. Lose a single tuna if it's affected by these tags. That's very bad. When they were fishing, we'll drop a lot of anchor points nearby as markers. But tuna swim irregularly. These anchors get tangled up in the fish line. They now need to wait for the tuna to wear out. This time usually lasts more than 10 minutes. The fish was scurrying about under the water. There are many boats around. Soon they were pulling the fish to the surface. Dave sees the right moment to drop the harpoon. It's not done yet. They also need to hook the fish's tail, then put a noose around the fish's tail. The trapped tuna needs to be dragged through the water to cool down. Let it cool before you drag it onto the fishing boat. The size of this fish is huge. That's 106 inches. That's the size of the fish Tyler caught today. They sold it for over $10,000. So how much is Dave going to get for this tuna? This fish can be considered caught at home. It looks very big. Cut the head and tail of the fish. And 525 pounds. Dave was pleasantly surprised. The fish is very big. It needs more fat content. But this fish doesn't have any fat. So the buyer offered only $18 a pound. That's a pretty good price though. But for Tyler, that tuna, the one with more fat, makes over $3,000 more than Dave. For the first day, there was more than $9,400 in revenue. Dave was already quite satisfied. He thinks he'll catch more big fish. A day passed in this way. OTT is still waiting on the boat. They didn't catch any fish the first day. It's very anxious right now. They used dead mackerel as bait. Hopefully, this will attract some of the lazier tuna. Otter saw a whale nearby, but there are plenty of fishing boats nearby, all for tuna fishing. Soon the detector went off. A tuna comes here. Within minutes, the line began to be yanked. I've waited so long for the fish, but the nearby boat is very close. OTT paging them to recover the anchor. While fishing, the boat must be adjusted to the direction of the tuna. Teammates are straining to tighten the line. When the fish is pulled close, they attack with a harpoon. Several shots in succession. Tuna doesn't even need 10 lives to die. They soon took control of the tuna. It made them very happy. Even the ship's dogs are happy. It's 95 inches long. Another big fish more than 2 meters long. When you catch a fish, hurry back to port. After all, who knows when you're going to catch another one? Jackside has been at sea for 2 days. They were sailing at low speeds in search of tuna. Suddenly, I saw an anomaly on the water nearby. They guess it's either mackerel or tuna. Soon their rods were being yanked. I've waited so long for the fish. The tuna hissed as it pulled on the line. Let him get tired of swimming before he pulls back. The fish are caught on the second day of the season. Good luck. Wait a week or two at the end of the season, and you won't always catch fish. When the tuna is pulled to the surface, we need to bleed him as soon as possible, or you could run away at any moment. The message for the fish was sent out again. The man who catches the fish flies. People who don't catch fish start to worry. Otter and his men returned to port and began to sell fish. Caught this fish on the second day of the season. They're on track. Buyers began to assess the price of tuna for the first time. The fish weighed 303 pounds, just average size. The core of the fish is very beautiful. It's also high in fat. The buyer offered $21 a pound. That's $1 less than Taylor's unit price. They ended up with more than $6,300 in revenue. The price satisfied them very much. Small fish fetch a high price. It's a perfect start. Cook, they just caught a fish yesterday. Sailing again today. Also near where the whales feed. The bait isn't down yet. The probe went off. The team quickly lowered the mackerel bait into the water. Not a few minutes, the line hissed. That's a little fast for a fish. If they can catch this fish. So they're the players who have fished the most so far this season. Time passed slowly. The fish stuck with them for a very long time. Is it a really big tuna? When they harpooned the fish, all of a sudden the tuna starts to force again. Almost took his teammates down with him. It's also the longest lasting tuna I've seen so far. After pulling the fish to the surface, put a noose over the fish's tail. They were excited to fly. In such a short time, 2 fish caught in the first 2 days of the season. What does that make other people who haven't caught a fish? I guess the others want to wreck the boat. After 3 hours of struggle, finally pull this fish up. It's only 101 inches long. Jack and his men return to port. They're negotiating a price with the buyer. This fish is their first fish of the season. Jack had high hopes for it. Buyers are beginning to evaluate the fish. The fish weighed more than 390 pounds. Both the color of the fish and the core are very good. But the buyer offered only $18. The fish earned more than $7,000. It's a good start for Jack. Cook and his men return to port. This is their second tuna. It weighs over 400 pounds. The fish has more fat than the last one. The buyer offered only $18 a pound. More than $7,000 came in. Why do I get the feeling this buyer is undercutting? What surprises do the contestants have in store for us next? Look forward to an update in the next video.